Now I'm going to be talking about sports in a second. Firstly, a few little texts. Damien, I worked with Brian on a wall on the industrial estate. A great tradesman. Great to see local trades offering their skills to local community and passing skills to a younger generation. Fair play. Somebody has queried, Brian did say at one stage there in the interview there could be up to 40,000 people buried there. He thinks that is far too high. He definitely doesn't think that there would be 40,000 people. Other people saying that St Patrick's does great work and people there do great work in keeping the graves and the graveyard, and they want to wish everybody the very best in remedying any situations there with individual tombs. Damien, regarding the health service, says Michael, I agree the health service is a mess and needs a radical overhaul. Simon Harris has been criticised for this. He has to carry some of the blame. Mary Harney, though, was there for 3 terms, 9 years as Minister for Health and got nowhere. The problem is within the HSE and not the front line. Frontline services and care is second to none. That is from Michael. And again, a few other people texting in to say, well done to Heather Reynolds and well done also to Derval Brennan, and a very good chat. Trevor Prendergast said, Damien, I worked with Heather during my time at AOL. Always a very inspirational leader, phenomenal knowledge of the private sector. I learnt a lot working with Heather and I still use all those traits today. Gavin, good morning.
Morning, Damien. How are things?
Good, thank you for joining us. Just going to recap on a busy weekend in sports, even though we're in, I suppose, the down season when it comes to a lot of GA matches and things like that. And some of the soccer obviously was affected by the weather over the weekend. I know some Junior League matches were called off. We'll go straight to the WLR Sports Awards. They happened on Friday night. The winner for the first time ever was the great Bet Carton. First time ever to win 2 in a row, that there's been 2 in a row given out. The awards are going since 1999, so we're 20 years. Yeah, 20 years, that's it. 21 years going. Great night up in the Granville Hotel.
Yeah, absolutely. Really enjoyed it, Damien. Yeah, always a big date in the GA calendar, and Saturday night was no different. Mary O'Connor, of course, special guest, really added to the whole occasion as well with her enthusiasm, obviously, and her passion for sports. And she's the CEO of the Federation of Irish Sport at the minute, so it was great to kind of welcome her as well on the night. And as I say, look, it was a night for the monthly winners and their families, and you know, some of them added great noise and colour to it. The gang from St Mary's there, they certainly enjoyed themselves well into the early hours, I can tell you that. But no, it was great. And Bet Carton, I mean, you have to say a worthy winner when you weigh it all up, Damien. Back-to-back All-Stars, 5:36 in the Championship last year at Waterford, won an All-Ireland sevens with De La Salle, which meant a lot to her too. They played Galtier in that final in the Camogie as well, and I think a lot of the younger Camogie players, and indeed Camogie players in general, looking up to her now, so she's a real role model for someone who's still only, I think, maybe 20, I'm not sure, it could be subject to correction, 22, 23 years of age. Like, it's phenomenal, and what a talent, what a player, and richly deserving of back-to-back.
We're going to play a little bit now. You did an interview with her just after she got her award. So here's Beth Carton talking after winning the overall 2019 WLR Granville Hotel GA Award.
I'm shocked. Definitely wasn't expecting that. It was nearly in my own world when the winner was announced. So look, thrilled for it. It's great for my family, I suppose, and the club. And look, just for the girls that I've been training with all year, they're the ones that you put in the hard slog with, and the ones that pick you up when you're down and are there for the good times too. So definitely, look, this is dedicated to all the girls that are at home tonight, but are the ones that truly deserve this.
Yeah, nice words indeed. And looking through the list there, it probably wasn't an easy task for the judges. There was a great representation of every code across the 12 months there tonight, and I'm sure from your point of view to be crowned the overall is, you know, as well as a shock, must be very exciting.
Yeah, look, that's it. The calibre of players in there, you could literally, any of the 12 could have won it, and no one would have blinked. The phenomenal players, and to see, I suppose, I think there's 6 women as well, it is phenomenal, and just showing, I suppose, how well both the male and the female are working together as well. But look, the calibre of players, it's an absolute honour to receive this.
And well done to everybody in organising the awards. I know it was a great night for everybody in WLR, Claire and everybody. And
and big thanks to yourself as well for stepping in there at short notice, Damien, to welcome the night. Hopefully Liz is on the road to recovery.
Yeah, Liz unfortunately came down with a bug over the weekend. I want to wish her the best and
speedy recovery. Yeah, indeed. But well done to all. It was a really enjoyable night, and as I say, we'll have further reflections on the ball show tonight, which is really going to be dedicated to looking back at the awards. Of course, we'll be hearing from Beth, Mary O'Connor as well, and we'll also have further reflection on Friday night as well. I know it was a big night up in Lawlers as well for the Waterford GA Awards congrats to all the winners up there. I know that was another big night. So yeah, you're kind of into awards season, Damien. I suppose the action off the field really is this time of the year. Looking back, as Mary O'Connor alluded to the other night, 2019, and now people are already looking forward to 2020, and we wish everyone the best of luck in their endeavours.
Yeah, Liam Cahill couldn't be there, the Waterford senior hurling manager, because they were at a weekend training block,
I believe,
Benji Whelan was there. So in terms of inter-county, we had a number of inter-county matches. We had a number of, I suppose, we're in the silly season's the wrong word, but some of these games are important for blooding new players. The FBD leagues, you've got your McGrath Cups, you've got different
yeah, that was a great win for Limerick in the McGrath Cup final. I'm sure Waterford will be, pretty, maybe they won't be concerned, but obviously they'll be taking stock of that, because they play Limerick in their Division 4 game. And I know Benji was at our table the other night. I know Conor Murray chatting to him on stage. Of course, he won Footballer of the Year as well on Friday night as well at the Waterford GA Awards. They're really working hard behind the scenes. Division 4, he mentioned the other night, is all about momentum. So Waterford and Limerick, that's a crucial game for both sides. Limerick, with the McGrath Cup success, they'll be keen to start the league, but they're still coming down to Fairfield. Waterford won't be easily beaten in Fairfield, and I know Benji and the lads, they'll be doing everything in their power to get off to a winning start. That's on the Saturday night, the 25th, and the hurlers then play Cork the following day in Welsh Park. So 2 home games, and the way it's fell, it's actually worked out well that they're both playing different days, so it's a chance to support both teams. And Galtier have a big camogie game as well on the Sunday, which is going to clash with the hurling. They have their All-Ireland semi-final, which is a pity. I know Annie Fitzgerald was she couldn't be there the other night, but her mum Gail, of course, took to the stage, and she spoke very well, I must say. Indeed, Fly was too shy to get up on the stage.
Congratulations to Ferrybank. They won a big soccer match over the weekend, and hard luck to Villa. Any other sports you want to give a quick mention to?
I suppose well on to the Waterford under 20 Wildcats basketball team. They had a great win as well. They're through to the national final as well. Another big win there, and there's great work going on. I know the Wildcats senior team, they're back in action this weekend. They're flying high, second in the league table, so it could be the year that they could bridge that gap. We'll be looking back at the Munster rugby match as well. Disappointment yesterday, Damien, for Munster, who are nearly, unfortunately, all but out excuse me, of the Heineken Champions Cup. Paris, or Racing 92, of course, finishing strongly in Paris there yesterday. So it's a pity that Munster maybe won't be getting through to the knockout stages there, but they do need to win next weekend. It's a huge home game, and also hope results go their way. So I suppose they'll be trying to win their own game first, and then you're kind of in the lap of the gods really after that.
Yeah,
be looking back.
They're in a difficult
I think
situation at the minute.
Yeah, probably a period of transition going on there as well. They have a lot of new players, and I know Jack O'Donoghue played well the other day. I know he came after near the end, but Munster did play well for 65 minutes of that game. I mean, to go to Racing, it's a real cauldron. The roof is closed, the kind of crowd are in your face, and it can be quite daunting at times. And the power and strength really of Racing and impact of the bench as well was very significant.
The problem with at the top, the elite of any sport, the percentages are so tight between winning and losing, and the money that's involved then as well, and the prizes in terms of getting forward and building. So it's just very tight, very difficult. And if you fall behind by 2-3% at all, you could be gone.
Oh yeah, margins are very tight. You look, Leinster, like everything is working for them. They racked up another huge win yesterday. Munster maybe not quite at that level yet. It's not for the want of trying, and they'll continue to try and bring through players. I think that's what it's about. But disappointment yesterday. Also look back at the weekend soccer, of course. Aguero, of course, the talk of the weekend, the all-time leading goal scorer overseas player, of course, with 3 yesterday. I know it wasn't a good day for Aston Villa fans, but look, still a long way off Liverpool. But there's a bit to go yet, I suppose, as they say.
Yeah, we'll be recording our False 9 podcast after the show later.
Look forward to that.
About that. So Gavin Whelan, thank you very much.
Also, and just say well done to WRT hurlers as well on their Fitzgibbon Cup win yesterday. They made a great start. Of course, Fitton O'Connor in charge. There was 5 Waterford seniors, and Austin Gleeson picked up a bit of an injury. Not too sure how serious it is yet, but hopefully he'll be back for that Cork game at the start of the league at the end of the month. So they had a victory over LIT away yesterday. So great start for the lads. Back in action next weekend.
Gavin Whelan, as ever, thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thanks, Damien.
Now, well done to the 2 Larrys, Christy, Jimmy, on a brilliant P.T. Graham Memorial Tournament at Tramore Boxing Club on Friday night. All boxers matched well, and a great night was had by all. Thank you very much for that text. Now, 4 talks by controversial US Catholic preacher Jason Evert this week have been cancelled after concerns were raised about his views on homosexuality and contraception. He's the founder of the Chastity Project, which promotes chastity amongst young people. In his book, Pure Manhood, Mr. Evert wrote that the homosexual act is disordered, much like contraceptive sex between heterosexuals. Both acts are directed against God's natural purpose for sex, babies and bonding. He was due to speak in Dublin, and he was due to speak in Waterford at a public event on Thursday night. Now, it seems there will be an address going ahead at the Holy Family Mission in Waterford on Thursday. The latter was set up by the Catholic Diocese of Waterford and Lismore in 2016, aimed at young Catholics between 18 and 35. Debbie O'Rourke is youth worker with the LGBT community here in Waterford. Debbie, hello.
Hello, how are you, Damien?
Good, thank you. Tell me a little bit about yourself, please. Where you're from and where are you working?
Yeah, I am. So I'm a community youth worker, but I'm, I suppose, a human rights activist. I've been involved in kind of a lot of human rights activism based around LGBT. The LGBT community, but also like other minority communities or people who face exclusion. That's kind of my main interest as a person. And then in my work, I work with young people aged 10 to 24. So I work with Waterford and South Tipperary Community Youth Service. And one of the projects that I work with is Chill Out, which is the LGBT youth group. And we work with young people from all across the South East.
What did you think when you heard? Tell me about this event that was due to take place this week.
Yeah, so I suppose just on Friday we learned on Twitter. So I'm on the Pride of the Deise committee. So we're a group of people who've come together to kind of organise some Pride events or kind of bring some visibility for LGBT community in Waterford. And yeah, we organise ourselves online, and in our kind of chat, people shared that this was kind of coming up on Twitter. This speaker was coming to Waterford.
Tell us about the speaker. Who was he?
So he's like, a preacher's not the word, but he's an American guy who kind of his main points, he's a speaker, he's a very engaging speaker, very popular in America, speaks to large groups of young people, and him and his wife have an organisation called the Chastity Project, and their main message, I suppose, to young people is promoting chastity as a way of life, so not engaging in sexual behaviour. He advocates against any use of contraceptives, sees it as disordered behaviour, and then has really strong views about the LGBT community, including people who are gay and transgender, thinks that those identities, I suppose, are disordered or are in some way not relevant or not right. And
does he say that it's... I was reading some of the Chastity Project website and talking about the history and how if it's genetic and all different things like that, but also then he says if people are gay, that's okay, but to be getting involved in acts of gay and lesbian activity, that's not the thing, because again he's preaching the chastity thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So he sees kind of sexual behaviour, any kind of act to just not be part of someone's life, and encourages, I suppose, people to just not act that part of themselves. But like, that's a hugely important part of being human, where people choose to do that and what age they choose to do it at and all that kind of thing. That's very personal to people, and it's people's private business, I suppose. It's up to people how they act in that way. But to give a message, I suppose, particularly to young people, to give a message that they should just stay away from that kind of behaviour, it creates a difficulty for young people, I suppose, and a confusion.
Why does it?
Well, that would feel that's a very normal part of being human, our sexual behaviour, but that's not all of who somebody is, and being LGBT is not all of what somebody is as well. So it's important to kind of see it as part of like the broader human experience. It's not everything a human being is, but it is part of the human experience, and people should be free and feel comfortable to, I suppose, act or behave in ways that feel right to them, where they're safe.
This event was postponed, cancelled, deferred, whatever way you want to put it, over the weekend. It was an event that was organised through the Catholic Diocese of Lismore, Waterford and Lismore. Why was it cancelled, do you know?
So the hotel itself has not given a reason why it was cancelled. There was a lot of kind of organising. A lot of people in Waterford came together to just say this is not okay for such a public event, for young people to be brought. I suppose what we read online and what was said about it was that schools would be bringing young people to the event. So I suppose people were just against that, because that's I would, for myself, I suppose, have a question around what choice young people have about whether they go to that or not, and who makes that decision for them. So to be exposed, I suppose, to quite it's dangerous. I think like some of those messages are dangerous to young people. Like overall,
and yet some people would say, it's a message, just take it. You don't have to accept it. You don't have to agree to it.
Absolutely. And I think that's important, but that's a choice for people. That should be a choice for people about whether they attend things like that or what they expose themselves to. I think for like big groups of young people to just be brought, maybe with not much understanding of what they're being brought to something like that, with something where the person speaking has quite extreme views and dangerous views, I suppose, for LGBT young people, but also for other young people who might not understand what it means to be LGBT. young people sometimes believe what adults say because we're seen as the people with power and we should be telling them the truth. So I suppose it's dangerous that they might then see or hear that, or be brought to something where they might not have a choice about whether they hear it or not. Like, I think if you make a decision to engage with something like that or choose to go to an event like that, that's everybody's prerogative. But for big groups of young people to be brought to something like that without much choice might be dangerous, I think.
Would you have organised protests? Were you planning protests at it?
Yeah, that we did talk about that. Yeah, so there was I suppose there's lots of very active people in Waterford, so we were kind of like talking online about what we do. But if it went ahead, I think there definitely would have been a protest, and we would have definitely looked for ways for young people to take part in that as well, because it's important when in any community, if something's going to happen, it's important that people who disagree or have other views, it's important that they get a chance to share those too.
The Catholic Bishop of Lismore, Waterford and Lismore, Alphonsus Cullinan, issued a pastoral letter yesterday, read out at churches, and in it he says, "There's now a new culture which is trying to undo the truths of the entire Judeo-Christian system from the ground up by redefining the meaning of personhood, of marriage, of the family, and classifying people on the basis of their sexual preference, raising individual rights over those of the unborn, and denigrating the sacredness of human life to its natural end." What do you think of that?
Well, I think what's important is there's an assumption, I think, in that letter that most or all of us are part of the Judeo-Christian community, and it's really important to recognise that we're not. And Ireland is very diverse. Waterford's very diverse, even within Waterford City. Different communities within that are very, very different and made up of people with lots of different beliefs and views. So to just assume that everybody is part of the community that he speaks of is just not right, I suppose, from the first. And then there's, I suppose, in Ireland we are on a journey with our schools where lots of young people, most young people are. We're on a journey around separating state from religion in our schools, and lots of young people attend schools where the ethos or the management of the school might not match what they believe or who they are. Just by, there might not be another school that they can attend. That's a real reality for most of the young people in Ireland today. So I think there's an assumption in the Bishop's letter that we're all part of the same community, and it's important to recognise that we're not.
I had a number of messages from people, one from a man who is gay and works within different aspects of the church, and is quite religious, and finds it very upsetting that this letter again is talking about sexual preference.
Yeah.
And is upset about it.
Yeah. And
yet the church would say, the bishop would say, well, it's their job as priests and as bishops to teach the word of God as they see it.
Yeah. And that's true. I mean, but there's lots and lots of people in lots of religions who are part of the LGBT community, who are gay, lesbian, transgender, and find the messages that they need in their religion around inclusion and acceptance. I suppose we see a lot, or like young people would talk a lot, I suppose, about how the messages that come from the church can be really exclusionary, like the approach that the bishop has taken. Not every priest or not every religion or bishop takes that approach with religion, and there are spaces within the church that LGBT people can find themselves. But if the message is that this, like, if you're LGBT, you're not part of the church community, or if you're LGBT, you don't fit here and it's wrong, then sending that message to people who are LGBT that who they are is wrong is like incredibly damaging. I was talking to the group of young people yesterday, and interestingly, it hadn't come up for them. They hadn't heard from their schools that they were going to attend this talk. But I mean, there was incredible sadness. It changed to anger through the conversation, but the immediate response in them was sadness, because like not only like the impact of religion and the church in our history and culture, we can pick that apart for a long time, we could talk about that for a long time, but for LGBT young people in Waterford, their lived experience is not one of acceptance from day one. They're on journeys, and lots of young people are in supportive families or live in communities that are supportive of them. But more of the young people that I see on a weekly basis, or kind of through my work, LGBT young people are not feeling supported. Like, lots of the young people who would engage in our group don't have support at home, don't have support in their community, don't have support in schools. Like, so you know, the where we're at right now
do you think the bishop in Waterford is different from other bishops?
I think there is a difference. Like, we don't see some of this kind of letter writing, and even some of the stuff we saw at the last part of last year around kind of opposition to yoga and kind of some kind of holistic practices some schools are engaging in. I think he's very I think he's got very strong views about how things should be, and he's very vocal about that. And that feels quite top down. Like, I don't feel like it's coming from, you know, the majority of people who engage in religions. I don't know that much about the bishop, but just that is what I know, I suppose, that the views are strong and he's vocal about them, and they are, he I suppose, uses his position to share that amongst the religious community.
Are you planning a Pride march, celebration, parade this year in Waterford?
Absolutely. Yeah, so we're hoping that's going to be in June. So we just got together, kind of start organising at the end of last year. So we had a meet up at Winterville, just a small meet up, because there is no adult LGBT group in Waterford currently. So, like, there is LGBT people and the community knows each other, but there's no kind of visible or organised presence. So that's what we want to create, just to build visibility and solidarity. Because LGBT people are part of our community and bring huge vibrancy and diversity to our community. So we really want to, I suppose, encourage that and build that visibility in Waterford.
Debbie O'Rourke, thanks very much for joining us.
No bother. Thank you, Damien.
Thanks, Debbie. Thanks very much for that, Debbie. Some people texting in about that. Damien, the US preacher, don't like his views whatsoever. Another person saying some of his comments about the LGBTQ plus society are ridiculous, he says he thinks people are gay because they have an unhealthy relationship with their father, or even from sexual abuse. This is some of Jason's quotes this person is saying. Another person saying, I don't agree with the preacher's views, but he's a right to free speech. There can be some radical Muslim preachers across the world that can spew hate speeches with no repercussions. Now, there are some there's laws against hate speech in certain countries. I know there's a big controversy at the minute about, not controversy, but big discussions now about speeching and free speech in Ireland, and there's going to be new laws regarding that. So that's another issue. Brian Whelan texted back in to say, Damien, thanks very much for the piece. I still think there are over 40,000 bodies at St. Patrick's. If you take note that the website and the Facebook page regarding St. Patrick's talks about approximately 40,000 buried there. Burial records for 3,000 people from roughly 1723 to 1825, over 250 headstones and more there along with that. So that's in the website. Let us know what you think about those views. 083 333 975, or you can call Laura on 051 846 123. Next, we have a very sad story about a dog. Now, keep your texts and comments coming in. Now we have Lindsay Power from In the Doghouse. Good morning, Lindsay.
Morning, how are you?
It's a doggy daycare centre facility, and you have a little doggy hotel as well, have you?
Yes, we do. We opened one there just about 2 months ago.
They have to check in, do they?
They do, check in, check out, same as anyone.
Do they get special treatment? Do they get a newspaper in the morning?
Oh, they do. They get very well pampered.
I'm sure they do. How much does that cost for a night?
It's €20 a night.
It's not too bad.
No, it's luxury dog hotel for them.
But if you had to spend 2 weeks away, the cost would obviously...
Yeah, we do discounts for long-term stays. Yeah, we do.
You're also involved in a number of WhatsApp groups. You're not part of the animal rescue welfare, I suppose, official setup, but you have dog lovers and animal lovers involved in groups.
Yes.
And a distressing thing happened on Friday night.
Yeah, we have a private grooming group, which is just some of the dog groomers in Waterford. We like to support each other, which is quite nice with being in the same business. And we have our own little private group. And on Friday night, I happened to be in Cork. Actually, I was teaching how to be a dog trainer for people in Cork. And one of the girls put up something that was after been mentioned on one of the Waterford Buy and Sell, or one of those pages, about a somebody had witnessed a little small dark coloured dog being thrown from a moving van over by Sally Park. And obviously this person was very distressed about it and stopped their car and tried to follow the dog, but obviously lost sight of the dog. It was petrified, and put it up on the Facebook group.
I've got a picture of the dog here. Really scared looking little thing, really thin. I'd say a crossbreed.
Yeah, like a little terrier. Yeah. She's a female little terrier, very cute, very unusual looking dog. Yeah. You know, very like almost like a little like a pharaoh hound or something head, like pointy ears, very cute dog.
But she went out looking for the dog.
Yeah, so that was I think it was about 11 o'clock on Friday night. I'm sitting in the hotel in Cork, and the Facebook group started, you know, pinging away, and the girls were all like, oh my God, you know, what can we do? So Heather, one of the girls, said, I'm actually living in Ferrybank, I'm just going to drive down. So she drove down, and I think she was there till about 1 a.m, and she saw the dog, and there was she had the guards there as well. And one of the guards almost caught the dog, but when, you know, in a very panicked state, the dog tried to bite him. And any dog would do that. That's not, you know, anything about the dog. It was just, you know, in an absolute petrified state, as you would be being thrown from a moving van. So she spent, you know, a couple of hours there, but had to retire, you know, at about 1 o'clock in the morning. It was really bad weather. It was really windy that night. So we were all worried about this poor dog. So she went back down first thing the next morning, and no sign of the dog. So she left food out, and throughout the day, there was food after being eaten, and the other groomers then started going over and back, but there was no sign at all. And then yesterday I decided to head over yesterday when I came back, and when I arrived, Tara, which is another groomer, she was already there, and she said she'd heard her barking. So both of us kind of, you know, were listening out, and we heard the barking, and it sounded like it was coming. It was quite muffled. It sounded like it was coming from quite a distance. So we were thinking maybe it was down on the tracks. So we were there for quite a while, and we were just trying to coax the dog out, but we knew it was never going to happen. And eventually, then I spotted her in it was kind of like a big, you know, mound of rubble. There was pallets and stuff like that, and it was behind a big massive fence. It was well over 6-7 foot fence, more actually. So we were like, how are we going to get in there? So we called Lorraine, which was another groomer, and got her down. And between the three of us, then myself and Tara, you know, hoisted Lorraine up over the fence, and it was, you know, it was a barbed wire fence, so we had like blankets, you know, underneath. Got in, and between myself and Lorraine, then we kind of just, well, first we tried to gain confidence, but it was just, you know, she was just too scared. So I went from behind, Lorraine was out in front, and she kind of was ambushed in that way, and Lorraine was able to grab her, and Lorraine got a little bite in the mix of it all, which again was just pure panic. I grabbed her off Lorraine, then wrapped her in a towel, and she just settled down, and she was so cute. She was lovely.
Have you named her?
She's called Sally from Sally Park.
As I say, we've seen pictures, and you'll have pictures up on your Facebook page about this. Firstly, how is she, and what are you going to do? So
Lorraine literally just took her to City Vets there this morning, and they checked her over, and she seems in good spirits. She has no injuries, which is great, because we were worried about, obviously, you know, maybe something internally that maybe wouldn't have shown up. She's very sweet. She's eating. She's starving. She's eating, and she's after having all her vaccinations this morning. She's not microchipped, so obviously, you know, that wasn't it. You know, we didn't expect it to be microchipped. But yeah, she's in good form. So now she's going to hopefully get into rescue or into a foster home, and then hopefully find a good home for her.
There's two things in this. Firstly, well done to ye and to everybody involved and to the group. I suppose one of the things is to say that, like, there are people out there doing searches, but is there more services that need to be, like, as you know, we aren't, like, you know, we weren't from a rescue that actually was called on for that. It was just, we were just in our own group, and we just decided to do it because, in fairness to the rescues, they're absolutely, you know, they're stretched to capacity. They can't do any more. They are, especially this time of the year now, you know, there would have been a lot of dogs that would have been abandoned before Christmas to make room for the puppies, and now you're going to have all the puppies after Christmas that were after being got for Christmas that now are an inconvenience. So this is a really, really tough time of the year for any rescue anyway. Plus there's just not enough, you know, help out there for the rescues. They're very, very under pressure, and you know, you can call them, but they're always somewhere. You know, they are all around the county, the animal welfare as well. They're always out, and, you know, they are posting up videos and pictures of the rescues that they are doing. And there's just, in this day and age,
the animal welfare in Ireland is absolutely shocking. I mean, you probably hear it on the radio, you hear it on the TV. It's, you know, the puppy farming, everything is just shocking at the moment. And the laws are just not being enforced, and there isn't really any laws there anyway. You know, there's not enough done. So whoever that vile person was that threw that dog out of a moving vehicle, you know, what's going to be done there?
That's the next thing I was going to mention is, like, how would somebody in their right mind do what they did to throw an innocent,
sweet, very sweet little dog, any kind of animal, but a dog or a cat or anything like that, let's say a little dog, to throw it out of a moving vehicle. Yeah.
In an area where he or she would have known there wouldn't be very many people around. The dog could have got run over by traffic.
Oh, 100%.
But to throw it out of a moving vehicle,
Yeah.
out of a car or a van, it's just awful.
It doesn't bear thinking about, really. And if you could do that, there's something really wrong there, and you would have to worry about that person's state of mind, because, you know, looking at that little dog, she was very sweet. She's a lovely little dog. Obviously, somebody had her. She's neutered, actually. So someone somewhere along the line actually went to the bother of getting the dog neutered. What went wrong? Where did it go wrong? And what really angers us all is, like, we get to, you know, we see the dogs that are in very loving homes that are being brought in to get their hair done, and they're coming in for daycare, and it's the other dogs that you see, and, you know, the puppies that are being bred for the demand, and then you have the mothers of those puppies that are just never getting to see daylight. They're stuck in sheds. The animal welfare, and these places, like these puppy farms, have legislation. They do have licenses approved by the city councils in these counties, and they are allowed to do this, and there's nothing there to stop.
Well, we've just had a lovely call in from a lady called Lucy. She phoned 051846123 and said to Laura she would be willing to foster the dog.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Wasn't that lovely? So she's going to give Lindsay your number when you come out.
Yeah.
Julie will do that. But that's really nice.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's really good.
There are so many good people out there. There's so many dog lovers. And you don't have to be an animal lover or one of these, animals are... You don't have to be a mad animal lover. You just have to be respectful to other creatures.
Yeah, and like that,
to humans and respectful to animals. Like how you treat your animals. Gandhi said this over the years. How you treat your animals is a mark of your society and a reflection of your society.
It is.
It's just...
And whoever that person was, that's when, you know, like... there's a lot of things I'd like to say about them, which I won't.
We can't curse on air, no.
No, but I mean, and this is not an isolated incident. This is going on day in, day out. Obviously, we're getting the attention for it today, but the rescues are doing this every single day, and they get to see this. And to a point, like, you don't get hardened to it, but I mean, they do, you know, see it every day. Oh yeah, it's happening again. A lot of people are a little bit sheltered from it, maybe, you know, that they don't see it as much, and if they're not involved with rescues and with animals, and to hear something like this on the radio would be very shocking to them. But this is not an isolated incident. This goes on every single day, and worse than this as well. Like,
if anybody had a dog or a cat, or has a dog or cat that they didn't want, there's ways of...
Yeah, there is, there's no need to throw a dog out.
Calling the ISPC...
Yeah.
and other organisations.
Like, I mean, like, to be fair as well, like, there are, as I said, you know, these organisations are very much stretched. They really are. They're under a lot of strain at the moment. They're not getting enough help. They're not getting enough funding. They are really, and they're all run by volunteers, and we forget that as well. All these people are giving up their time, whether they're working in the shops selling the clothes to make a few bob for the rescue, whether they're out and they're trying to fundraise, or they're actually in there mucking out and doing the dirty work. These people are volunteers, and they're doing it off. You know, we're all in this business, whether it's for volunteering or as part of a job, because we absolutely love dogs and cats and everything else. We're animal lovers, and to see an animal being treated like that, it's just wrong. It's absolutely wrong.
It is wrong. Lucy, thank you very much for offering to do that. So we'll give you Lindsay's number. And Lindsay, thanks very much.
Thanks for having us.
Keep up the great work. And to everybody involved in the search and the rescue over the weekend, congratulations to all of you.
No worries. Thanks a million.
Thank you very much. Coming up, weddings. Oh yeah, let me ask you now, if you were going to a wedding, how much would you give as a gift?
I suppose minimum now, 150, 200, isn't it?
Would you have to go 200?
If it's a good friend.
Right.
If it was a good friend, I would.
Let us know what you think. 083 333 975. Now, joining me on the line in a second is Sarah Kennedy, wedding blogger with Bridezillas. Firstly, a couple of texts. Damien, regarding the dog story, says, Jim, I worked in the USA for some years. It was commonplace for people to throw puppies or older dogs out of moving vehicles onto freeways. These are sick individuals, and to think it's coming over here is awful. The Gardaí need to weigh up and apply the law to these. And then he says a rude word, as they say. Sarah Kennedy, good morning.
Good morning, Damien. How are you?
I'm wonderful, thanks. I'm just going to leave Lindsay Power go. She works in the doghouse. She got married. When did you get married, Lindsay?
September 17.
September 17.
Okay.
Did you ask guests, did you do a wedding list?
No.
And did you say to guests, if you want to give money or...
No, I wouldn't dream of it, no.
Why not?
I just think, you're inviting people because you want them at your wedding, and it's at their discretion what they want to give. I would never expect a certain gift or a certain cash gift.
But would you say to them, if they'd say, do you want money? And you'll say, yeah, give me money. Or would you say, no, it's up to yourself? What did you say?
Nobody asked. Everyone I think I got maybe 2. We had 180 at the wedding. I think I might have got maybe 2 or 3 gifts. Everything else was money.
Money. And the average, 150?
Yeah.
Some 200?
Yeah, close friends would have, yeah.
A few 100?
Yeah. Most, the average would be about 150.
150, yeah. What makes the difference between 150 and 200?
It would have just been very close friends or very close family members.
And is 100 a bit stingy?
I would give 150 minimum.
Okay. We'll let you go.
No worries.
Thanks, Lindsay. Sarah, you're listening to Lindsay there. What do you think about what she has to say?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with her. I think when it comes to the wedding day and getting those invitations, I think that it should be an unspoken rule. You just don't ask for a gift or for cash. I just think it's the wrong thing to do. But yeah, the going rate has probably lifted a little bit since 2017. I'm starting to see a lot more kind of edging into that 200 minimum and then up to the 250 mark as well.
Right, okay. Just make sure you're in a good area there, Sarah, if you wouldn't mind. The signal is not brilliant, but no, it's not too bad. Lindsay's going to stay with us for this, actually, because it's a good conversation. You have on your blog, Bridezillas, most couples are going over budget now by a staggering 60%, and the average cost of a wedding is coming in at around €24,000. Yeah,
it has. We're back to that pre-recession, if not a little bit higher, because there's more choice in the marketplace. And there's a different portfolio of wedding venues that we didn't have pre-recession. So weddings are costing more. So I think that financial pressure on couples, they are relying heavily on the cash gift to pull them through it.
Right. How much did you spend, Lindsay? Do you know?
I actually have no idea. I didn't do up. I have no idea, but
Why,
it was definitely.
You were afraid?
Yeah, I just it was never budgeted, but it was definitely 20,000 plus.
Do you find that, Sarah, and your blog is called the Irish Wedding Blog? Do you find that some people kind of just don't really want to know how much they've spent?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of that burying the head in the sand, for sure. And that's probably why they go over budget, is they don't estimate how much it's going to be. But yeah, there's no doubt about it. People just lose the run of themselves. When you start off on your wedding planning, it's, spreadsheets are out and this is what we're going to do. And then as the time goes on, all these different bits and pieces from Etsy and different crafts are all starting to sneak into the budget. And before you know it, sure, you've gone way over.
Yeah, what was the biggest one, Lindsay? What did you go way over with, do you think? Or what was the biggest? Obviously the meal is expensive.
Yeah, the meal was big, but everything is expensive. Your music, we liked to make sure we have plenty of good music bands. So like you have the day after, the day of, and then you have somebody for when you're the reception before the meal. Like there's a lot, so we wanted to make sure that the music was covered.
Laura has texted in to say people go overboard with weddings. Sarah, do people go overboard with weddings, or is again this idea, it's a one day, come on, we might as well do it?
Yeah, there's a mix. There's some who do. They go hell for leather, and there's others that do rein themselves in. I have seen a lot that have shopped quite sensibly, but those who do tend to step over the boundary, they just keep running. They go hell for leather. So yeah, but I suppose it depends. It is one day, but when you look at the total budget as one big piece, because that's what a lot of people don't do. They take everything individually, but when you look at it as that 24,000, and I suppose the further kind of west of Ireland you go, the more that's going to hit to 30,000, because there tends to be bigger weddings. So that's a deposit for a house, and I think just sometimes we just have to rein ourselves in to have a little bit of perspective on that it is one day versus a house for a lifetime.
Yeah, like 180 at Lindsay's wedding would be around average, I suppose, Lindsay, wouldn't it? Anything over 200 maybe hitting a bit high.
Well, of all my friends, my wedding would have been quite small. They have very large families, so some of my friends, when they got married, they were limited to the venue because of the quantity of people that they had, so that you're talking 200, 250. So in mine was quite small in the scale of that. But yeah, I'd say on an average it would be 150 to 200 would be probably an average size wedding.
Because the more you have, Sarah, at the wedding, the bigger it gets. It's just massive in terms of the bigger the check.
Yeah, and actually, I suppose the more you come east over to towards Dublin, actually 180 would be a huge wedding. You're tending to see that 120 mark being an average around kind of that Dublin, Leinster kind of catchment area.
A person has texted in, Damien, my nephew got married about 3 years ago. He told the guests not to give presents. This is a weird one now. You can donate to the homeless, he said. It was a low budget wedding. It was brilliant. That's a different sort of a thing.
Nice.
That's
nice.
Lovely. Yeah. I don't know if I go along with that though. Like, you'd still want, like, is there a feeling, Sarah, that if you're putting so much money into a wedding, spending 20,000, 24,000, you kind of want to get something back out of it?
Yeah, like I would have had people get in touch with me, brides, after their wedding day saying, we had 2 guests that came, but we never got anything from them. And I'm going to get in touch with them and ask them about it. And so there's a sense of entitlement or expectation that if you're coming in, you pay for your ticket and your meal, so definitely I think people do expect it.
What do you say though, Lindsay? What do you say to someone? Was there anybody?
I wouldn't dream of saying it to anybody. Absolutely never in a million years would I approach someone in that way.
Yeah. And how do you know then as well? It'd be a strange thing to say. Like, what do you say? You never gave any present? Or
what happens if it was just misplaced?
Yeah.
Well, this is it. I think it's one of those things that should be unspoken. You all know who didn't give you a gift, but there's no need to talk about it, because ultimately a wedding day was never meant to be about, cashing in and getting, if you choose to get married, that's up to you, and that should be your money that you put into it. You shouldn't be expecting everybody else to foot the bill. So if somebody is not in a position to give you, a big gift, you shouldn't put that pressure on them, because being there is what, in the ideal world, that's what's most important. But yeah, like I remember back when I was wedding coordinating, I would have had a couple or two in front of me that would have done the maths on how much they expect to get and asked, okay, so if we get this 7,000 in presents, can I give that to you the morning after the wedding?
Yeah.
And I'd have to turn around and say, no, your wedding has to be paid up front before it actually happens. So there is an assumption that they'll get X amount of money and they've done the maths in their head.
A very good point from a person. Damien, how in the name of God can people afford €200 as a wedding gift? It costs a lot of money for a guest with a new outfit, hair, nails, makeup, taxis to and from the venue, overnight stay. It can cost invited $600 or $700 for a day. I've decided in future, unless it's a family wedding, I'm going to decline the invitation. Both my husband and I are unemployed. It's just too stressful now to be invited. That's a sad situation as well, isn't it, Lindsay? It's
true though. It is. It's a very expensive day when you think about getting your hair, makeup done, your new outfit, a suit.
Just the men.
It is a very, very expensive day. And I know, like, a few of my friends would have had 7, 8, 9 weddings in one summer, which is crazy.
Yeah. Sarah, what about the day after, briefly? Do you think it's a big thing, or is everybody tired, as this person says? The extra day is just a bit of a waste?
Yeah, I think it's now kind of considered the done thing to do.
It is, yeah.
The second day. And I think there's no pressure on everybody to be there for it. But I suppose, God forbid, if somebody in the bride party didn't show up, I would imagine. But I think it is. I think it seems to be the norm now. It seems to be a 2-day event.
Yeah. What about the afters? Had you many at the afters, Lindsay?
For the afters of the actual wedding, no, I didn't invite anyone to the afters.
Do an afters.
No.
A person has texted in, what about the afters? Is afters still a thing, Sarah?
It can be if the venue isn't too far away, but majority, like, you would get those for like workmates. But yeah, I think I didn't go for it myself, but it's not as popular as it used to be.
Not as popular as it used to be. So 24,000 average cost. Most couples going over by budget of a staggering 60%, 8% up on previous years. Phenomenal. Listen, you can read a lot more about it on your wedding blog, the Irish Wedding blog. Sarah Kennedy, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. And do women, by the way, still buy a lot of magazines? I know there's some magazines going out of business in Britain, wedding magazines, or are they looking online now?
There's a mix of both. I think once you get engaged, there's that feeling of getting the bridal magazine that you've always seen on the shelves into your hands. So I think that, yeah, they definitely are. And there's some brilliant magazines out there in Ireland.
Sarah Kennedy, thanks very much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
Thanks very much. Thank you. Lindsay, thanks very much. Congratulations on your wedding.
Thank you.
2 years ago, and you're still paying for it, are you?
Oh, probably, yeah. Forever.
You don't know how much it cost. I love that.
No, it was over like planned for about a year and a half, so I just paid as we went.
Lovely. Lindsay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, thanks everybody for texting in and for ringing in. John says, I'm a single man who goes to a wedding. What would the going rate be for that? I suppose maybe €100 with a single man, I don't know. Other people saying people go overboard on weddings. Thanks to Julie for producing. Jeff is up next. Thanks to all our news team. They'll have the latest on Storm Brendan as it batters Waterford. We will talk to you tomorrow. If you're out and about at all today, please stay safe. And Lucy, thank you for offering to take Sally, the rescue dog.